Our music suited him down to the ground, like, it was fantastic. But he jumped ship. He went over to the opposition. He joined Fianna Fáil. He joined Michael Disney. We never forgave him for that, like, never. But his musical influence was fantastic because he was very, very, very talented. But as I say, he jumped ship.
So after Nun Attax exploded on the scene, as it were, everybody, including Cahill and Sean and McLean, said, "Geez, we can do that." So before long, within 6 months, they were getting their things together under the same spirit. Like, if Nun Attax can do it, so can we. If Donnelly can do it, I can do it, kind of thing. Because everybody looked up to Donnelly, basically. Like, he was the number one kind of character around the place.
Nobody was particularly making any money through doing music, and Cork was falling apart because the factories had closed down, and it was just getting crappier and crappier. Nobody, talking about the widest sort of cross-section of people under 25 especially, had any money. So people stopped going to gigs, they stopped going to the Arcadia anyway. So there was really nothing much you could do to sort of push things forward, and that Caught at the Campus record that was recorded at that gig came out, and it didn't really do anything.
The next song is about psychiatrists and rubbish, and it's called White Now.
Even though the Nun Attax tracks were great, I mean, it really caught them at what they were doing at that time. I mean, the Michael Disney track was shite, but I mean, you didn't hear that.
And like before that, the one with Nun Attax before that was White Cortina. It was just the lads kind of rabbiting on about, the only thing to go on is a White Cortina. It's brilliant.
Being chased home after the gig by the clan from the north side, things like that. Fights, a lot of fights. Punks sticking together, mods. It was the time of the air guitar, people out dancing to AC/DC. Good Times, that song by Chic, that used to finish the disco 2 o'clock Saturday nights. They always played the same tune, I always remember that. I remember a lot of Skinheads. God, lots of memories. First time I saw a knife. So all these kind of images, the first time I met like people like Blake Creedon, and first time I met Ricky Deneen or Finbar Donnelly, like up the Ark, and I can still remember the first time I met most of them,
The Ark was completely different and completely weirder than anywhere else, because you had a kind of an arty element, but it wasn't like it looked arty, but it wasn't, if you know what I mean. Like, musically, all these people were listening to Captain Beefheart, and Throbbing Gristle were popular at the time, and the Virgin Prunes used to come to Cork and play in the Ark and go down better in Cork than they did in Dublin. But some people, like the ska heads that would be in the Ark, would look at the Virgin Prunes in the same way as the Legion of Mary would look at Satan, if you know what I mean. But out of that, you had a lot of really strange bands coming. I can remember seeing one band up in the art college one night called The Women. What it was they were amazing. It was like DAF style keyboards, tribal drumming, no melody, no tune, nothing. It went down a storm. People loved it.
And like at the time, the whole scene, there was Nun Attax, Michael Disney, ourselves, DC, the Dublin bands coming down, the Flamax, Belson and whatever, and it was just a great thing because you had the bands coming down to the Ark. Okay, they might bring a support band with them, but there'd always be a local band playing. So because of that, then people were seeing you in action, and then if you were having a gig down in Heafy's or in Henry's or wherever, people would come along and see you. Very incestuous bunch, right? They like punks and their models, and then there was a couple of sort of mods hanging on, and that the two-tone stuff was happening then as well, so there was a big sort of upsurge in that whole sort of look or feel about things. The good times, I suppose the good times were going up to Dublin. We used to play up in the Magnet. We almost had a residency of Cork bands up there every Saturday night, packaged up to be main features in Nun Attax and Micro Disney and the Flamax, or subtle variations on that. They were hilarious. Like, people in Dublin didn't know what to make of this. These lunatics coming up from Cork who didn't give a shit about anything. Like, just tickle and pink.
There was definitely a stopping and taking of stock up there when Nun Attax arrived and did what they did. It was like, hang on a minute, it was almost like there were a million bar bands in Dublin, like sort of lookalikes and to this, to that. There was a lot of pointy shoes and bow-legged stances and skinny ties, and of course when Nun Attax went up there with braces and big country pants and silly grins and this music that was, most people sort of said, oh, it's beef heart, isn't it? Which it wasn't. It's much more than that. And they introduced this kind of very kind of experimental edge to a kind of to what people thought was punk rock in those days. There was definitely a sort of an element of surprise.
I think he was craving the attention for the sake of the band and for the sake of the image. To be honest with you, and he was very well read, and just on a one-to-one basis with Donnelly, he was practically a normal person. Did have his psychotic moments after drink or whatever, but I would imagine that most of the thing was a show for just to be a part. You know what I mean? Like a rock star type of a thing. Like there was definite kind of psychotic things in there. All right, they used to come out later on in the evening, as it were. But then again, could be perfectly articulate and nice and very generous. Kind of would share his last penny with you, that sort of business. And chat away as normal, but just. There was a certain spark that used to come out. It probably used to come out with drink. What happened with Donnelly is that after we started off, he eventually very quickly lost. I mean, if you talk to the rest of his family, they still have northern accents. Donnelly lost his. He just straight away it's us again. Fuck off with me. And he developed a very strong Cork accent after a while. But the northern accent used to come out in a lot of the songs. If you hear a lot of them, the northern accent used to come out all the time as a kind of piss day. But I think he did try to be kind of more Cork than the Cork people, alright.
I think the big influence was, I don't know if you know, but there was a record came out called At the Campus, and my friend's brother had it. We used to play it time and time again, and we couldn't believe it was actually Cork bands who had a record, or who had a song on record, and Urban Blitz and Mean Features, all these kind of bands. So it was the first time we'd ever seen a Cork band on vinyl. So we quickly realised, because we'd been listening to U2 and Dexys and all this kind of stuff, and we realised, God, a Cork band can actually, other than Gina Delhaize and the Champions, can put something down on vinyl. So for me, even when I was a kid, it was something that did definitely stick with me. And obviously it's much more common in the last 10-15 years. Cork bands have released a lot more vinyl, but I mean, that was a very brave thing to do at the time.
Down, 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 down. I'm from Knocknaheeny, I'm from brilliant. And the one? Oh, they released the two they had single. There was Why Wait Until April, and The Fish on Top of Shandon Swears He's Elvis.
This song I wrote for you. I love you.
The cello was a big addition, and it was amazing. This idea of bringing the cello, we thought that's amazing, that's great, and it worked brilliantly. It really worked. I think Bricky's guitar playing got even more bizarre at that stage. He basically stopped using chords completely, and he started just playing riffs and sort of counterpoint totally. And Donnelly stopped singing, and I think he started getting into sort of berating,